the most important number for investors? A lot of you will think it's price earnings ratio or yield or maybe some other number, but I can tell you wrong. The most important number for investors, and it's something I think every stock should be quoted with this number next to it. It's volatility. Now, I immediately lose most of you because, yep, that's a good statement, Marcus, but what is volatility? Let me explain it to you. There are some stocks, there could be two stocks that do exactly the same thing. They go from bottom left to top right on the chart, and they do exactly the same thing. But one of them does it like this, and the other one does it like that. Which stock's more reliable? Well, it's obviously this one, because this one is going to cause you no stress. It's not volatile. Volatility is a measure. If you take that line and take how far the fluctuations are either side, volatility is a measure of how big that deviation is from the average. And that will tell you that this stock will give you a headache and you'll be asleep. You'll be awake at night, whereas this stock you'll be asleep at night. So which one do you want? Same result. I want the one that's least stress, which is the least volatile stock. So what you can do is you can take a measure of how volatile a stock is, and we do that in the newsletter. It's called average true range. It's a measure of how far a stock trades from top to bottom in any period. So in a daytime, in one day, on average, how much does a stock move between the high and the low? And the bigger that number is, the more volatile it is. So generally speaking, you take that range and you take it over a number of days, say 14 days, 2 weeks, and you can come up with a number that says, and this is a true number, that Telstra moves on average 1.3% a day. Okay? Is 1.3% movement a day going to stress you out? No, it's not. BHP, on the other hand, moves 4% today, 4.1% at the moment. It changes over time. But BHP is moving 4.1% a day. Is that going to stress you out? Well, it should stress you out 4 times as much as Telstra does. What about Fortescue Limited? That moves, at the moment, 8.4% a day. Now, is that going to stress you out relative to Telstra? Of course it is. It is 8 times more volatile. And yet, most of the time, people just take no notice of volatility at all. But every stock should have a volatility number next to it so that you know what you're dealing with in terms of stress. Most investors, particularly long-term investors, want a stress-free life. They want to sleep at night. So it's no good talking, you might talk about copper stocks or resources stocks. 29 metals, 29M, copper stock, about the same as BHP, you would have thought. At the moment, 29 metals is moving around 18% a week. So it's moving 3 or 4 times as much as BHP. So you need to know what the volatility of a stock is. I'm afraid there's nobody that gives that to you apart from the Markets Today newsletter, of course. We have a volatility rating. We rate every stock out of 500. So we take the all ordinaries, the most volatile, the least volatile. And let me tell you some of the stocks that the most or the safest stocks, the least volatile stocks, is a list you already know. It's Coles, Westpac, ANZ, CBA, Woolworths, NAB, CSL, Telstra, Macquarie, Amcor, Wesfarmers, Origin, Suncorp, Transurban, Computershare and ASX. Those are the least volatile. All those are in the top 50 least volatile stocks. And you can see why investors gravitate to them in the longer term because they're not giving them any stress. At the same time, you go down the bottom end or the highest end of volatility and you have all those at the moment, and it'll change, but all those lithium stocks that people are happily buying. They're playing in BHP and Coles and CBA, and then they'll go and buy a lithium stock without realizing that the volatility rating is 10 times as high as the other stocks that they're holding, and they wonder why they make mistakes. So volatility is possibly the most important consideration for all investors when they're looking at stocks. And for long-term investors, for conservative investors, it's pretty obvious why everybody's sticking to the bigger stocks, because they're higher quality, less volatile, they don't surprise, and you can sleep at night.